the magnitude of the mountain that there is still to climb. Mountains are famous for having dead bodies on them. That's what it leaves behind, and Kaspa could quite easily become a dead body on that mountain. Alright guys, welcome to my channel. This is Crypto Tycoon. I am talking about crypto. I'm the inflation avoider. And thank you so far to everybody who's subscribed to this channel. If you've got a moment and you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button, because it's really helping move things on, so that's great, thank you. And what am I going to be talking about? Well, for you Kaspa holders out there, I think it's time we had a little chat about the future of Kaspa and start to look realistically beyond all the talk you've heard about what great technology it is. It is great technology, don't get me wrong, but technology doesn't guarantee success. Some people will say, well, look at the technology, yeah? And some of them people who say that won't have looked at the technology themselves. They've just heard it off of people on social media, YouTube or whatever, and won't have checked it out for themselves anyway. And half of that stuff they won't understand fully. What you have to look at is the reality of technology and how business works and how things like that work. And there are times when the best technology doesn't always win the day. In fact, it's quite common. A theme is that it's not always the best technology. It is the timing that matters a lot more. Now, there is an argument to say Kaspa could already be too late to the market. However, time will tell whether that's true or not. So what is it we need to look at when talking about Kaspa, and how to explain where Kaspa is in the grand scheme of things in reality? Well, for anybody who's familiar with football, that is where I get my best analogies from. Imagine a young footballer at a League 2 club, but not playing for the League 2 club, in a League 2 club's under 12s, yeah? And they seem to have a lot of talent for their age and might be the next big thing, possibly the next Lionel Messi. How many times have we heard this before, though? For somebody who's surrounded himself with football quite a lot, I've heard it many times before, and I've seen how it ends. So this is where Kaspa is. Kaspa is currently that wonder kid who could be something great, but there's so many different challenges to face. And currently, let's say that wonder child has made the transfer into the academy at Liverpool FC or Man City, a team like that, or Real Madrid. It'll be that child and thousands of others who are also scouted and taken into that academy. Now, not all of them can play in the first team, and it's not always the best player at that age who ends up making it into the first team. Some players develop later, and there's all sorts of different reasons that they make it, and the best at that time don't make it. Lifestyles change, they get other interests, they might get injured, too busy partying with mates when they hit 17, 18, things like that prevent moving forward. So what does this have to do with Kaspa? Well, Kaspa at the moment fits into that category of where it is in terms of progress, and it can only be where it is. It only started out a few years ago, and it's very new to the market. And at the moment, they've shown that it can take, by breaking records, by showing that it can take a hell of a lot of transactions. That's a really good plus. But it's only showing that this child has a good vision of the game and can deal with getting into the right positions, picking out the right passes, and understanding the basics of the game. It's got that nailed. The child's a fantastic player. You can see that all the key ingredients that people are saying one day this kid could really make it, but it's still only in the academy, with thousands of others who are developing as well. But ahead of them are players who are in Liverpool's first team, and they're getting picked week in, week out. And not only that, new players who are already established are coming into the game. Now, if you think about it, your Bitcoin and your Ethereum are playing in the first team week in, week out, and maybe, Solana, BNB, they're playing week in, week out, and you've got new players, new signings like Chainlink and Avalanche who are finding more and more uses for what they're doing, and this is what it's about. So just to stop there on that bit, now why I mentioned them two is Kaspa has just, through Kasplex, launched smart contracts, but that is just the beginning. It's not about the smart contracts, not the be all and end all. There are so many real world uses at the moment that are so important, and other crypto have the, blockchains have the already advantage on by the fact people are using them, big companies, multinationals and institutions, for stable coins, which is massively important, shouldn't be underestimated, because that is partially could be the future of, maybe not in my lifetime, but as time progresses, how things will be done instead of using fiat currency. It protects you against that. Also, real world assets no longer are real world assets. In time that's going to be a thing where stocks, shares, everything is using the blockchain. And what are they being built on? Well, all the important technologies are in Ethereum, Solana, all your meme coins that are really, really popular are on there as well, and that's where they get listed on exchanges where Kaspa is not even listed on Binance yet. So it's meme coins, of which there are only a handful, and one of them, Nacho, is probably their biggest, but the liquidity is tiny in there. So that is where that is in comparison to Solana and Ethereum. A tiny little handful of people with meme coins created on there, compared to the, I don't know how many, but it's out of control with the amount of meme coins out there, and ever growing. And that is what you have to look at. Yes, is the technology there? Yes, it can do X amount of transactions at once, and it's really, really fast, but has it been beaten to it? Because what institutions don't like is change. So when they start selecting things to build on top of, they will stick with that. They'll make a decision and they'll stick with that, and they won't change. So the people who are getting in now, the Solanas, the Ethereums, and even to a point, could argue Sui's on there as well, and Chainlink's a big part of it. They're the ones that are going to be when the market matures, the go-to. They're going to be the standard, the flag bearers, and Kaspa has to break into that. Now, how long will it take? Because remember, all we've got at the moment is a brand new smart contracts released that has a handful of meme coins, which is tiny in comparison. It's like it's not even National League North or South. It's Sunday League compared to Premier League at the moment with what it has to offer, and that has to grow. And things are kind of self-fulfilling, so the bigger you are, the bigger you get. It's that momentum that is always behind you. So Kaspa has to grow, and that is difficult when the user base, as dedicated as it is only small, and catching up is a tall order. I mean, it needs, even with the DeFi options, we've got liquidity pools, not liquidity farms yet. It's just small pools, and that's on meme coins like Nacho, which most people probably hadn't heard of until I mentioned it. And you need more than that. It needs more money in there. It needs to be used a lot. And again, the hopes of that getting listed on a Binance or anything are severely limited, especially while Kaspa isn't. So that's one thing you have to take into consideration. So that's where it is at the moment. There isn't really much you can do with other assets. You can stake them. You might not be staking Kaspa directly, but you'll be staking Kaspa, using Kaspa for staking. And so that option's not there. So that means people who have Kaspa are only waiting for the price to pump, not necessarily, as much as they think they are, investing in the future. And those people that are investing in the future, again, as I've said already, if you catch on to what I'm saying about where Kaspa currently is, you'll understand the magnitude of the mountain that there is still to climb to even start touching on becoming a big player. It's got so much. These mountains are famous for having dead bodies on them. That's what it leaves behind, and Kaspa could quite easily become a dead body on that mountain near the bottom of it at the moment. And I'm not saying that to be unkind or anything like that. I'm trying to give a reality check to people who think they're holding it long term, and how long is your idea of long term? Because this is long term. It will take 5 or 10 years to even get to that point of big massive multinationals and other companies and institutions wanting to build on Kaspa. At the moment, it's enthusiasts more than anything else, not businesses. And people taking payments are enthusiasts who might own a small business. That is not good enough. It needs, at the very start, a decent stable coin on there. It needs more substance, real world assets, things like that. And when that starts happening, you'll start be able to see that yes, actually Kaspa is getting somewhere, and there is real potential of it continuing to grow and that snowball effect starting to kick in. But there isn't any of that at the moment. Nothing. You can't even do anything really useful that isn't massively high risk because of the low liquidity. With your Kaspa, it just sits there with you looking at it going, my God, this is worth less than it was yesterday, or fucking hell, it's going nowhere. And that is why people need to realise that if you're holding it, you're in for the long haul. And there's no guarantees at the end of it that Kaspa will move. Forget what people are saying about the technology. Technology is not everything. It's usage, real world use that matters, and there isn't barely any. And if it, for what it is, it's just a speck of dust at the moment, but it is the beginning. And Layer 2's, the Kaspa smart contracts, is the first foundation. It's not even all the foundations, it's the first foundation. Liquidity pools then need to turn into liquidity farms and have more options for DeFi where it's really useful. And then when you've got the DeFi thing in order, you've got, forget the Binance listing, that'll spike the price. It won't have a lasting effect on it. And that's another thing to take into consideration at the end of this alt season. How far will Kaspa push in price? Bearing in mind that prices will retrace after that. So if it doesn't push up that far, it could retrace well below what it is now. That is a risk. And if it doesn't get that real world usage, it could end up a dead project. You've got to decide, and this is why I'm going to be, I've got my wallet address in the description and in my channel description, and I'll put it in the comments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be, because it's too risky to do it with my own Kaspa without the community helping, so this is why I'm doing it. And what I'm going to do is start testing what Kaspa has and keep doing that and seeing improvements and tracking improvements. That way, what it's the equivalent of is you being able to track the career of this youth team player by me showing you how things work on there. Maybe then you'll feel confident enough, because I wouldn't risk it at the moment because it's so early. Say once a month I'll give an update and show you what I've been doing and what I've found, and what maybe even create a meme coin, just to give you an indication of what problems there is, what improvements have been, and then if new things are introduced to the finance side of things, show you what's now available. And that way you can track the improvements that real world to the career of Kaspa and see if it's breaking into the under-19s yet, and is it going to get loaned out to Derby County, or is it getting loaned out to Grimsby Town? Is it got that potential? Is it made a Carling Cup appearance? I mean, that's old school. A Carabao Cup appearance for Liverpool. What is it doing? So that you'll be able to track that. So that's why I'm just asking if anybody wants to contribute Kaspa towards my wallet. You can do it. Hit it. Just whatever you want to send to that wallet. And as I've got enough to work with, I will start putting that into projects to test out what Kaspa has to offer. But the point is this: you are investing in something that is not just in its infancy, it's pretty much just been born. So yes, long term, if this does catch hold and it's not too late to grab these institutions and build that trust that Kaspa is the future, then it's got a very bright future ahead. But it's a long road, and that's why I intend on testing these things out, and then each time seeing what's new, what's been added, what's improved, and being able to feed that back to you so you can see for yourself, it's moving along, or it's taking its time, it does lack these features, and you'll be able to understand it better as well, because it's all right people just saying, it's a great technology, and great technology means it's a winner, but you've got real money invested in this, and just trusting that great technology will win the day probably isn't enough. You need to see progress. Maybe you're planning on holding it long term, like I've got a decision to make when it gets to the height of alt season, where it's got to, whether I go, right, I'm going to take profits and then I'll buy back in when it retraces. And you'll have a better idea of, actually, Kaspa, it's making steady progress here. It's, these new things are happening. I'll have a better understanding of it myself as well, because I'll be able to see the inner workings. From a brief look at it, there isn't much there, from what I can see. But I can only become more of an expert on it by getting into under the hood, and working. That's what I do, so I can help you along, making your informed decisions rather than hype-based or fear-based decisions on whether it's worthwhile holding a bit longer, or whether it might be a good time to shave some, or whatever you decide is best, bearing in mind it could take 5, 10, 15 years, and there is that risk that it just might be too late to the party. Who knows? So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to give you a little idea of, and it's a very basic idea of the challenges Kaspa has ahead as it stands. In football terms, it's the equivalent of a under 12s player going into moving from a League 2 club to a academy at something like Liverpool Football Club. But I mean, you could argue actually that if it gets listed on Binance and Coinbase, it's moved to the Liverpool Academy, so it's probably not even there yet. So that's its next tick, is to move to the Liverpool Academy. At the moment, it's generating interest from Liverpool, so we'll leave it there as an example, and I'll use little updates like that to sort of give you an idea of the progress. We'll track it like a upcoming footballer of the future, the next Lionel Messi, and see if he does end up being the next Lionel Messi. Maybe it will, but we shall see. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, the Kaspa address is going to be left in the comments as well. Do hit the like button, support the channel and what I'm trying to do. It's always appreciated, and it helps with the algorithm a lot. And that's about it. Hit subscribe and the bell icon and all that good stuff. Catch you later, guys. Bye bye.